What happens when a song becomes a revolution? Hi there, I'm Chris with a K, and welcome back to This Week in Queer History, where we celebrate queer icons and moments that I wish I had known about as a young gay kid growing up in conservative America. They sang to not just entertain, but to protest, to build a future. Queer choirs weren't just musical groups. They were an unstoppable force of cultural change, liberation. They were creating sanctuaries and sparking revolutions, and they were doing it all one note at a time. This is the unheard story of how music became the ultimate act of rebellion.
This week in queer history, stories told with love and glee.
It's 1978 in San Francisco. The city is still humming with the energy of pride parades and protests. And Harvey Milk, he had just become the first openly gay elected official in California. And he's giving queer people a sense of visibility that they had never seen before. And then, one night in November, everything changes. Harvey Milk and Mayor George Moscone are assassinated. But then 30,000 mourners gather outside of City Hall. Candles are flickering in the fog, and out of that grief, a sound rises. 100 men singing Mendelssohn's "Thou Lord, Our Refuge." That was the first public performance of the San Francisco Gay Men's Chorus, and the first time an openly gay men's chorus had ever sung in public. And they didn't plan to make history that night. They were just trying to find something, anything to hold on to. But that sound would ripple far beyond San Francisco and spark a movement that would change queer history forever. Within a year, word had spread. A handful of organizers in Los Angeles, they rent out a room at Plummer Park Community Center in West Hollywood, and they put up flyers for a new gay men's chorus, half convinced that no one will show. But when they open the doors, 99 men walk in. That night, the Gay Men's Chorus of Los Angeles, GMCLA, is born. Within 3 months, they're performing at the National March on Washington for lesbian and gay rights, standing before the Washington Monument with over 75,000 other people demanding equality. Imagine that, hundreds of queer voices singing out loud in the heart of the nation's capital. And that sound, that harmony, is something that can't be legislated against. For queer people in 1979, gathering publicly like that wasn't just brave, it was revolutionary. It said, we're here, we have voices, and we sound fabulous. Meanwhile, across the country, a group of New Yorkers decided they wanted in too. They formed the New York City Gay Men's Chorus in 1980, and they held their first holiday concert at Cooper Union. It was standing room only. One of the founding members later recalled the crowd's reaction: standing ovations, tears, and a sense of sheer astonishment. It was proof, he said, that our collective voice was powerful and that people were finally hearing us. And that feeling of being heard would become the heartbeat of the gay choral movement. And it was only a year later, on December 8th, 1981, that the New York Chorus would step onto one of the world's most famous stages, Carnegie Hall. So just picture it. 150 gay men singing carols beneath the gilded arches of America's most prestigious concert hall. It's the first time an openly gay musical group has ever performed there, and it's a Christmas concert. It's beautiful, subversive, and a little ironic. Queer voices reclaiming the sacred holiday music that had so often been used to exclude them. By the early 1980s, queer choirs were springing up everywhere. In Washington, D.C., Boston, Dallas, and in 1982, 14 of these groups came together in San Francisco for what would become the first gay and lesbian association of choruses, GALA. By 1991, there were more than 100 member choirs across the US and hundreds more internationally. The movement had found its voice. Of course, not everyone was ready to listen. In 1994, the New York City Chorus was invited to perform at a choral directors conference until the organizers realized their name included the word gay. They tried to disinvite them and even banned any group with gay or lesbian from appearing. Instead of backing down, the chorus sued, and 2 years later, they won. That same year, GMCLA faced their own battle when city officials tried to censor the word gay from their phone book listing. And spoiler alert, the city didn't win that one either, because the chorus refused to budge. These weren't just fights about names, they were fights about existence. The right to be seen, to be named, and to sing your truth out loud. And sing they did. But then came the storm that would test everything, the AIDS crisis. By the late 1980s, GMCLA had lost over 150 members. In San Francisco, the toll was so devastating that in a now famous photo from 1993, the few surviving original members stood in white shirts surrounded by newer singers dressed in black. It was a visual reminder of how many voices had been silenced to the disease. But the choruses didn't go quiet. They became something sacred, a place to grieve together, to remember together, to keep each other alive. The New York City chorus joined stars like Bette Midler and Lily Tomlin at the Metropolitan Opera House for a show of concern, one of the first major AIDS benefits in the country. GMCLA turned every concert into a kind of memorial, dedicating songs to the fifth section, the members who had passed but were still with them in spirit. The music itself became medicine, healing through harmony. And through it all, they kept pushing forward. GMCLA was the first gay chorus to tour Central Europe in 1991 and performed for President Bill Clinton in 1997. That was the first time a gay men's chorus had ever sung for a sitting president. By 2006, they were performing in South America, helping launch the first gay chorus in Rio de Janeiro. Their It Gets Better school tour brought messages of hope to LGBTQ youth across the country, and this was long before visibility became a buzzword. If Harvey Milk's dream was to give queer people hope, these choruses gave it a soundtrack. Even in their most joyful moments, queer choirs, they carried a kind of quiet rebellion. And their holiday shows became legendary. Big, sparkly productions filled with humor and camp and plenty of heart. The Seattle Men's Chorus dubbed theirs the gayest sing-along in town. But beneath the glitter was something deeper. For so many queer people who had been shunned by their families and their faith, these concerts offered a different kind of Christmas. One that was built on chosen family, laughter, and unconditional acceptance. When GMCLA performed True Colors with Leanne Rimes in 2010, it wasn't just a cover song, it was a lifeline. It reminded queer kids everywhere that they weren't broken, that they were beautiful. And these choruses turned joy into protest, proof that living loudly, loving boldly, and harmonizing publicly could be its own form of activism. And yes, over the decades, they have sung for presidents, appeared on TV, toured the world, and mentored young singers through outreach programs like GMCLA's Alive Music Project. Every note, every lyric, every standing ovation said the same thing: we belong. When my own life hit a low note, I found my way back to that same harmony. At that time, a 5-year relationship was ending and I was adrift, and it wasn't a big dramatic blow up of a relationship, sort of. I mean, there weren't any slamming doors and there wasn't really any shouting. It was the kind where it was a little bit of slow, constant heartbreak that leaves you wondering who you are without that someone else. And for a while, I filled the silence with distractions, friends, gym, endless scrolling. But late one night, I thought back to when I'd last truly felt alive. And it wasn't at a party or on some big trip. It was when I was with a group of people singing. High school show choirs, college musicals. It was the pure joy of performing and working together with other people, using our voices. And those memories, they weren't just about the music. It was about the community and the belonging. So in a mix of like nostalgia and a little bit of panic, I did what any gay man with Wi-Fi and a background in jazz hands would do. I Googled gay choir in Los Angeles, and there it was, the Gay Men's Chorus of Los Angeles. And when I auditioned, I was terrified. I was expecting just to sing a couple, hum a few bars, sing a couple bars, and then I would be let go. But instead, I was welcomed into the room, and as I entered the room, it was just a wall of sound. Hundreds of voices filling the room, and they were unapologetic and they were full of joy. I remember that rehearsal so clearly too. It was full of laughter and so much warmth, and there was an unspoken understanding among everyone, that everyone had walked through something, some sort of a heartbreak, some rejection, some loss. And yet we found our way back through music. And week after week, we would sing together, men from every decade of queer life, from those who had survived the AIDS crisis to 20-somethings still finding their own footing in the world. But we would sit there shoulder to shoulder, blending our voices. And when I was there, I started to feel pieces of myself coming back to me. Yes, the music was healing, but what really did it was the people. They were the real miracle. We weren't just singing together, we were remembering, we were honoring, and we were rebuilding. When we went into schools to perform and tell our stories in the AMP project, I saw the impact of that firsthand. You'd watch these students see us, these grown gay men, laughing, thriving, and making art together. It was like a light would switch on in some of them. And maybe for the first time, they saw a future that looked a little bit like them. And that's when I began to understand what those men in San Francisco must have felt back in 1978, when the world went dark, when they felt alone and without any hope. All they could do was light a candle and sing together. I've been thinking about rejoining the chorus lately, not just for the music, but for that community, and remembering that it doesn't just happen community, it's built week by week, note by note. Because when queer people come together and sing, it's not just about the song. It's a declaration that we're still here, we're still harmonizing, and our voices make the world a better place. If this story struck a chord with you, please let me know in the comments. Is there a song that helped you through something difficult in your life? And while you're still here, check out the next video popping up right over here for more queer history. And you can also head on over to myqueerbirthday.com. Link is down in the description below, and you can find other icons or events that happened on your birthday. Until next time, stay strong, stay bold, and keep making history.